Standing frozen under the glaring spotlight, feeling the heat prickling my skin, I stared out at a sea of 500 faces, most of them white, all of them smirking, waiting for me to crack. I was 13, and I'll tell you right now, the prank they set up was cold-blooded. They wanted this scholarship kid to fall flat on her face. What they didn't know was that the moment my voice finally broke through their laughter, everything, the school, even some of them would change for good. I've never believed in fate, but looking back, I gotta wonder if sometimes the universe sets you up just to see what you'll do when the game isn't fair. You ever been the odd one out like that? You know what I mean? Yeah, that happened. Let me back up a sec for me. Every day at Westlake Prep started before dawn. While my classmates slept in their luxury condos, I was rolling out of bed at 5:30, laying out my uniform, checking for any speck or wrinkle that might give them another reason to point and laugh. My mom, Desiree, was long gone by then. Her first shift at the hospital started early, and if she was lucky, she'd squeeze in a cup of coffee before racing to her second job downtown. That partial scholarship covered a lot, but the gap was wide, and I never forgot for a second how hard she worked just so I could sit in those marble hallways. But in those 15 quiet minutes before sunrise, I had something all mine: the bathroom mirror, a cheap little radio, and my voice, a gift my grandma Eloise left me. She used to sing jazz in clubs way back in Chicago, back when her dreams were bigger than the world would let her hold. The world chewed her up for being black and bold, and by the time I came along, the only stage she had left was Sunday dinner. She died just 3 months before all this happened, but I still hear her when I sing. That's how I keep her close. You learn to blend in at a place like Westlake. I'd gotten real good at moving through the halls like a ghost, avoiding Madison Wellington and her crowd. Madison's dad's name was plastered on every building on campus, and she wore that privilege like perfume, sweet and heavy, impossible to ignore. She liked to remind people who belonged and who didn't. That morning, she made sure I overheard her trashing the chemistry lab, making it sound like anyone without a private tutor was hopeless. Her eyes slid to me just to let me know she meant it. I always sat in the back of Mr. Barrett's English class, right next to Casey. Me one friend in that place, the girl with purple streaks in her hair and zero patience for Westlake's politics. We bonded the first week of school when she called Madison out for mocking my voice. "Vultures are circling," Casey whispered that morning as Madison's crew kept glancing our way. Then came the morning announcements: lacrosse, fundraisers, all that prep school noise, until Principal Harrington's voice went all formal about the winter showcase. "Only our most accomplished performers," he said, making sure everyone heard the message. This wasn't for everyone. Last year, I watched from the shadows as the right kind of kids played classical piano and sang Broadway. A black sophomore had played jazz piano flawlessly. If you ask me, and still, they picked him apart. At Westlake, talent always meant their kind of talent. Lunch was more of the same. Casey and I sat near the door, her picking at a salad, me unwrapping the same PB&J Mom had made since kindergarten. Across the room, Madison held court, laughing too loudly and making sure I caught every glance. "They're up to something," Casey muttered. "She's been way too interested in that showcase." I tried to shrug it off, but just as I did, Madison strutted over, all fake smiles. "I thought maybe you'd do something for the showcase," she said. "You know, something from your culture." The way she said it turned my stomach. "I don't perform," I told her, but she just pressed on, acting like she was giving me a gift. "It'd help the school's image," she said, then breezed away. Casey glared. Don't trust her. I wanted to believe it was nothing. But by the time music class rolled around, a mess. Caldwell, the choir teacher, was handing out showcase forms, staring a little too long in my direction. After class, I saw Madison hanging back at the teacher's desk, and the way she smirked at me, I knew she was plotting something. That night, Mom crashed on the couch in her scrubs. I covered her with a blanket and disappeared into my room, spinning my grandma's old vinyl on the turntable, singing along just loud enough to feel like myself again. The next morning, chaos. Casey came tearing down the hall. "Your name's on the showcase list," she blurted. Sure enough, there it was, Zuri Morgan, vocal solo, African-American spiritual. The signature looked almost like mine. Almost. I hadn't signed up. I hadn't agreed to any of this. The realization hit. Madison had forged my name, and the teachers didn't care. MS. Caldwell just shrugged, waving my forged signature in my face and warning that Westlake students follow through. I wanted to disappear. But now, if I backed out, I'd just feed the stereotype that kids like me couldn't handle the pressure. So what was I supposed to do? MS. Caldwell told me, not unkindly, to pick a spiritual. I assume you're familiar with the genre, she said, like I was a walking stereotype. The rest of the day was a blur of stares and whispers. Madison and her friends snickered. The teachers acted like they were giving me a gift, and Casey was the only one who seemed to care how cornered I felt. That night, I thought about quitting, but then I remembered my grandma's words, "Your voice is your power. Don't let them silence you." The next morning, MS. Caldwell handed me a folder. "Ave Maria," she said. "It'll show the proper training." It was a song I'd never sung, a piece designed to trip me up. Madison appeared out of nowhere. "I thought you want to prove you could handle real music." The trap was set. Every afternoon, I practiced alone, my voice cracking on the high notes, my confidence shriveling. One night, I broke down. "This is exactly what they want," I muttered, slamming the sheet music on the piano. That's when Mr. Raymond, the janitor, appeared, soft voice, kind eyes, the sort of man no one noticed, but who seemed to notice everything. "I taught at Juilliard once," he said quietly, "before folks decided jazz didn't belong. Turns out, he played with my grandma. They're still playing games, Zuri. Still making sure kids like you and me fail unless we play by their rules. He offered to help me in one condition. You sing what honors you, not what they picked." So we worked. We bent Ave Maria into something closer to jazz. We wove spirituals into melodies that told my story, not theirs. For every obstacle they, through UPA corrupted backing track, a locked rehearsal room, our little alliance got stronger. Amara, a former student and now a judge for the showcase, reached out through a secret bookstore meeting. She'd survived the same sabotage years ago, and she brought allies, parents, teachers, and old Westlake students, black and white, who'd fought this fight before. Madison and her crew tried everything. They edited a video to make me sound awful and blasted it around school. My locker got trashed with racist graffiti. They even tried to block my mom from coming to the show, threatening her job at the hospital. At every turn, someone from our growing circle stepped in. Casey cleaning my locker, Mr. Raymond finding new ways to rehearse. Amara making sure I'd have a real audience even if they shoved my performance to dead last. Showcase night came, and the sabotage was everywhere. I was shoved to the end of the program after half the donors and scouts had gone. My backing track mysteriously corrupted, my microphone half dead, my name misspelled in the program, every move meant to remind me I was an outsider. Madison's big performance? A mockery of my culture, complete with cartoonish jazz runs, rewarded with the school's top prize announced before intermission, so the right people could hear it. I almost walked, but right before I went on, a little girl, black hair in perfect braids, came up to me backstage. "My mom brought me just to see you," she whispered. "She said you'll sing like our grandmas did." I remember my grandma, her voice, her strength, and I realized I couldn't leave now, not just for me, but for every kid who needed to see what real courage looked like. So I stepped into that spotlight, no backing track, no friend in sight, except Casey and a scattering of allies in the audience, and I sang. I sang Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, just the way Mr. Raymond taught me, but then I let it morph, weaving in my grandma's lost song, Unsilenced. My voice shook at first, but then it soared. I sang to my grandma, to the little girl, to every face that had ever felt small in a place like Westlake. When the last note faded, there was a silence so thick you could cut it. Then Mr. Raymond stood, slow clap, turning into a wave of applause. Even the news crew, who'd slipped in on a tip, caught it all. Sure, Principal Harrington and Madison's dad sat stone-faced, while everyone else stood. But by morning, my performance was everywhere, online, shared by the people who finally saw what Westlake tried to hide. The school tried to spin it, making me the poster child for their commitment to diversity, but my mom, Amara, and our whole alliance pushed back. We gathered stories, called out the sabotage, and within months, the state board was investigating. Scholarships got restructured, racist teachers forced into training, and my grandma's name ended up on a new program for underrepresented students. And Madison? She faded away for a while, but one day, she found me in the hallway. I was wrong, she said, voice quiet, no cameras, no audience. I never questioned the way things were. She gave me her dad's old email's final nail in the school's coffin. 6 months later, I stood in front of the state board. This isn't about one performance, I said. It's about who gets to have a voice. Mr. Raymond started a new music program in town, one that doesn't care what your last name is or what you look like. Amara brought me into her studio to record my grandma's song. My mom finally got the promotion she deserved for years. The school changed, but more than that, I changed. My voice became more than music. It became proof that you don't have to shrink to fit someone else's stage. If you've ever been forced to choose between staying silent or speaking up, if you've ever felt small, outnumbered, or unwelcome, I want to hear your story. Hit that like button if Zuri's journey reminds you of your own, or if it opened your eyes to what others face. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories that don't shy away from the hard truth. And share this video with anyone who needs a reminder. Your voice matters, even when the world tries to silence you. Maybe especially then, because what they never understood is this: when you finally sing your truth, you set more than yourself free. You change the game for everyone who comes after. That's how you make sure the last laugh is yours.